Hello, my name is Ethan Sapp.
And my name is Haley Martin.
And my name is Cullen Wake. And the title of our project was the John W. and Margaret Jones Langdale Forest Road Signs, Road Map, and Natural Resource Recreation Project. Our stakeholder for this project was Mr. Grant Ritz, the forest manager at ABAC. And the specific track that we did on the school forest was the Christmas tree track, which is located off Adams Road and Willis Still Road.
So as a project overview, our project began with thorough planning and conversation with our stakeholder, Mr. Rentz. So we traveled to the school forest and asked Mr. Rentz a series of questions regarding our project, such as where actually the road signs needed to be placed on the Christmas tree track, and also how he would like the final project turned into him, the final product of the map, whether that be a shapefile or a project package or in a PDF format. So the next step of the process was the painting and construction of the road signs. So we began by prepping the metal and washing it with soap and water to remove the grease so the paint would adhere. And then at that point, we needed a structure that we could sit the signs on for them to dry and something they could sit on while we painted them. So we created makeshift sawhorses out of scrap wood that was available to us at the shop at the school forest. So as you can see here in this picture, we painted the middle of the signs yellow, and then the outside, the backing and the front of the signs metal, we painted it green in the ABAC school colors. We then installed the signs into the appropriate locations on the Christmas tree track that we decided on in conversation with Mr. Rentz. So these signs were installed in locations that were aesthetically pleasing but also functional. So as people navigated the roads on the Christmas tree track, they would be able to see the signs and they wouldn't be hidden away behind vines and trees. So the next step in the process was marking waypoints using a Garmin GPS that we would use to create the GIS map for the roadways on the Christmas tree track. So we did this, we navigated the roadways with the GPS and marked waypoints at every turn and bend in the road to ensure the creation of an accurate map. After that, we created the map on ArcGIS Pro. We transferred using the coordinates off the Garmin GPS to the GIS program using the GPX to feature tool in the software, and then we digitized the roads and labeled the road signs with the names, and then we created a layout of the map.
So some of the goals for our project was to aid in navigation of the visitors, students, professors, and even the forest manager, Mr. Grant Rentz. We also wanted to increase the aesthetics of the forest and give the property a more professional and inviting appearance, such as when we gave tours of the place to the foundation people or even teachers at the school, and maybe even students when they wanted to come look at the forest for the first time. We also wanted to increase safety and allow for better communication for labs, such as for prescribed fires, and then also timber inventories for mensuration. We also wanted to give the property appearance that is being patrolled and there's people out there constantly, so this can limit the amount of unwanted visitors and trespassers on the property.
So this image just depicts the process that I was speaking about earlier of painting the signs, and as you can see, it's green and yellow, the ABAC school colors.
So this picture here is us driving the signs into the ground where Mr. Grant Rentz told us to. So as you can see, we put a piece of wood on top of the sign to ensure that we did not damage the sign when we were driving it into the ground. We also wanted to make sure that we drove them in the ground far enough, so after we drove them in the ground, we would give them a shake test to make sure that they wouldn't wobble. And once we got them in the far ground, they wouldn't wobble, then we knew they were good too. It's just in case they got bumped by a UTV or a student leaning on it, or maybe somebody hits it with a bush hog when they're mowing the roads. So we just wanted to make sure that they're there and they won't get knocked over very easily.
So this is our itemized budget. Some of the supplies that we needed was primer and spray paint for the signs. The total for that was $45. We did end up using a lot of spray paint for the signs. And there was also diesel fuel required for the ATVs. We did use a lot of that driving around the property to mark the waypoints and to place the signs, install the signs. And the total for that was $30. And the all-around total was $75. The spray paint and primer came from Lowe's, and the diesel fuel was provided by ABAC. Some of the issues that we encountered, as you can see in this picture, there's a rag. We had to dry off most of the signs because there was a small shower during the process of them being dried. Some of the signs were left with the watermarks on them during the drying process. And then an additional issue was finding time for all three of us to get together. We do have rigorous class schedules, and some of us also have jobs that we spend most of our time at when we're not at school.
So future ideas for this project, if another group were to use this project and continue it, would be to add an additional road map for the non-navigable roads and fire breaks. So in our project here, we only included the navigable roads. So if this was done, this would help in labs for classes that occur in the Yale building, such as fire ecology. So during a prescribed fire lab, whenever we receive as students the map prior to lighting the fire, some of these fire breaks could be maybe labeled a little bit better, and it would just have better all-around communication. Also, during mensuration, Dr. Condumbo could label some of the road names and whatnot that students walk down. So another idea for the future would be for a group to cement the signs into the ground rather than just driving them in the ground, such as we did here in this picture, just to secure the signs a little bit better, as the examples Cullen gave, in case something were to ever happen to them.
This is the final product of the roadmap. Eventually, this final product will be printed out and placed in the ABAC School Forest classroom. Although it does increase the aesthetics, it will also help, like as they said earlier, it'll help with prescribed fire, timber inventories, tours. It also would probably increase the deciding factors for future students. But as you can see here, the yellow outline is the Christmas tree tract property line. The legend is at the top left. You can see the different markings, such as the red triangles are where the signs are placed and where we marked our waypoints for the signs. And then the roads were marked with waypoints as well. You can also see in the aerial images the different separations with the trees. And we decided to color those blue so they could stand out more. Some of the road names we had to label were Egan Drive, the main one coming through Hall Road, Sapsucker Lane, Smoky Hollow, Moore Road, Dr. Lane's Lane, and River Road at this bottom corner. We also had to add a scale and a north arrow, and that just increased the aesthetics as well. So this is me working on the map. The whole process, we had to begin by obviously marking the waypoints, but we had to get the waypoints on the computer. How we got the waypoints on the computer is we plugged the GPS unit. Here's the GPS unit right here. And we had to plug it into the computer with this cord that loads all of the waypoints onto the files. From there, we had to extract the files and put them into the USB on there. And from there, we had to convert the GPX to waypoints onto the computer by the analysis tools, toolbox, and conversion tools. From there, we would have the waypoints on the computer, so then we began the process of creating polylines with the roads. We had to insert labels onto the field. We also had to insert the road signs where the marks were for the waypoints. And we had to calculate geometry for all of the roads for the lengths.
So this image depicts a final product of a road sign that is fully installed and painted. So here you have Dr. Lane's Lane.
This is another picture of a final product that we did. You can obviously design installed. This road was Egan Drive.
And this is another one of our signs, Smoky Hollow.
So this is a timesheet that just depicts the time each group member spent working on the project. So on March the 9th, from 2 p.m. to 7 p.m., myself, Cullen, and Haley traveled to the school forest, as described earlier, to prep the signs, paint the signs, and construct the signs. So then on March 29th from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m., all three of us once again traveled to the school forest to take place in the installation of signs in their appropriate places. So on the 30th of March from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m., myself and Cullen went out to the school forest and we took coordinates of the roads at each bend and of the sign locations themselves. Then on April the 5th from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m., myself, Cullen, and Haley all went to the lab in the Yale building and worked on the creation of the GIS map. And then on the 6th of April from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m., Haley by herself continued and completed the road map for the signs on the Christmas tree strap.
So, as overall, we feel like this project was a success. We completed all our original objectives and we met all our stakeholders' goals that Mr. Rentz asked us to complete. And then we felt that the communication and it was consistent between the group and our stakeholder throughout the entire project. And we also feel that we acted in a professional manner and worked proficiently during our agreed upon time. So no one had to get begged to come out and help. Everybody was there all at the same time. I feel like we worked good together and we got this done in a very timely manner. And then the map was created. It was aesthetically pleasing and professional in its appearance, and we will be proud to hang it in the school forest classroom when we get it printed out. Thank you all for listening.